Hi everyone, welcome to Becky's Crafts and Goodies. Today we're going to upcycle this small chest of drawers. Now this came from a friend of mine. She was getting rid of it and she asked if I'd like it, which of course I jumped at the chance. So it's got some hardware missing at the top there. What I'm going to do to start with is just take the hardware off. I have already given it a wash down and we're going to start and paint it with Vintage with Grace paint. Okay, so we're going to start and paint the unit now, and I'm going to use Grandma's Pearls, and this is from the Vintage with Grace paint. And so I've opened the caps because the cans come with caps on, and I'm going to use one of the Vintage with Grace brushes. I have incidentally got some for sale. I've got the number 40 brush in Vintage with Grace, and I've also got the 30. So if you want these, let me know and I can get those out to you. And I've also got a wax brush if you need a wax one. So what we'll do to start with is I've cleaned this. That's all the prep it's had, no sanding, nothing, and nothing's required, and we're just going to start and paint now. Now I don't know if you can see, but the Grandma's Pearls, it's not a bright white colour, it's more of sort of a cream colour. And with the drawers what I tend to do is just paint the front, so just the top part and down the sides. That's all I'm going to paint. If you start painting the sides, then you can get like layers of paint that come up, and sometimes it can get hard for the drawers to go in and out. You can do it, I have done it before, but you just have to kind of sand them down so they fit. So you just get your paint and you just literally go straight on. Now because obviously the wood underneath is dark, you would need to give this a couple of coats, but I would imagine that would be the same with most chalk paints. So you just go straight over, and it's going to totally transform this tired little tiny chest of drawers, and this will really, the colours that I'm going to be doing it in will be suitable for lots of bedrooms. So we'll be going over the front. I will do, as I said, the top part here, and I'll do all over the unit. We'll let that dry and then we'll go over it and give it another coat of paint, and that should cover quite nicely. So with the main part of the unit, the places that I paint, obviously we've got the outside. I'll paint the inside here and all the way around there, and the same for this drawer and the same for that drawer, and then obviously legs and inside that part. Right, now I've gone quite up close here to see if you can see this. We've got some bleed through, and that's where the colour underneath that comes through. I don't know if you can see, it's left this kind of streaking mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this product. It's a primer, sealer and stain killer, and I'm just going to spray this over the areas that are affected by the bleed through, and then I'm going to go over the top, straight over the top again with another layer of the chalk paint, and that will cover it completely. I've sprayed both sides of the unit with the stain blocker. It seems to have sort of come up on both sides, so we'll just go over this. Now if you wanted a colour that was sort of whiter and a bit sort of crisper, then I would suggest using maybe the Belgian lace or something like that. This has got sort of a more of a creamy yellowy kind of undertone. It is still quite a light colour, but it's not as bright white as maybe the Belgian lace would be. So I'm going over again, and as I say, if it needs another coat, we can always go over the top again. This unit is quite dark to start with, and you find when you've got units that are really quite dark, sometimes they need maybe an extra coat just to cover it over. But just see how you go with the unit you're doing, and I'll just go over all of this, and then once it's all painted, we'll start the next step. Okie doke, so this has dried now, and what we're going to do is to blend a different colour of paint in. Now I'm going to use Portobello. This is like a grey kind of colour, and So what I'm going to do is blend the grey in with this cream colour. Now to decorate it, I'm going to be putting some rice paper on, and I've got some sheets of rice paper. I've got this in a smaller design, and I've got it in a larger design as well. So that's why I'm going for the grey. I'm going to try and blend them in so we can use those. So to start with, I have done a video on blending before, but if you haven't seen it, I will actually show you how to do it. So to start with, we're going to need the original colour, which is the colour that's dried and the one that's underneath. Okay, so we're just going to put some of the original paint on the areas that we want to blend. Okay, so I'm going around the edge here, and then I'm going to use one of these spray bottles to kind of moisten up the area a little bit. Then I'm going to get myself a paintbrush, and I'm not going to use a lot, and I'm kind of going on the outside, so I'm going to sort of swipe the outside and just blend that colour through, and it just gives it a different kind of look. It's quite subtle, and if you want a little bit more on, then you can. I tend to keep the brushes separately. You can just dip a bit more and kind of just go little by little and build it up. But this colour here has kind of got some, I'd say, some purpley tones in there, and I'm not going too much in the centre because I'm going to be putting a piece of rice paper in there. Now you can blend with any kind of colour you want, really, anything that you think is going to match what you've got. Okay, and I'm just going to go through and very lightly blend the middle, but so you can see a definite outline around the edge. So we'll let that dry, and then we're going to put some of this rice paper on the top. Now if you wanted to, you could layer and build the colours up. So you could use extra colours. Let me just have a look over here. We've got some greens. The coastal patina's quite nice. That's this kind of colour. So you could sort of layer up the colours and put, you know, and build them up and put more on if you wanted to. But we'll let that dry. Then what we're going to do is to put some of this rice paper over the top. So all I've done is ripped some sections of the rice paper out, if I can find them. So this sort of thing, and then we can put the rice paper on the side. So what I'm going to do with the rest of the unit is I'm going to do exactly the same technique with the spray and sort of blending the colours into each other. So we've got sort of the same kind of look all the way around. Right, so now we're going to transfer one of these rice paper images onto the furniture, and all I've done is ripped around the figures and the things that I want to use. So you can rip these as opposed to ripping napkins, because napkins are a lot thinner. I'm using this matte finish. This is from the Fairy Chic Emporium. This is Paula. So if you do want any of this, guys, let me know, because I've got some of this in stock. So I normally just pour some into the lid. Then you're not dipping your brush in the actual pot itself. And I'm just going to put some on here. Now I like this as opposed to Mod Podge at the moment because it's a little bit thinner and sometimes it's a bit easier to work with. So we're going to put some of this on, roughly the size. We can always add more to it. And then I'm going to just stick the rice paper over the top. And because it's not a napkin, you can go straight on with your hands. If this was a napkin, I'd be using cling film now. So just make sure there's enough on. Go from the middle, work outwards. And then if there's any corner bits that need sticking down, just pop a little bit on and just stick it down. And then what I'm going to do is go over the top with another layer, and then we'll leave that to dry. And I'll be doing some of these little designs on the drawers as well. I've brought some new drawer knobs from Amazon. I did have a look in B&M just earlier today, because they do sell them in there, but they haven't got any at the moment. So I bought some. I think I paid just under £15 and got 16 4cm knobs. I think the 3cm ones were about a tenner, but I'll pop the link for them down below, guys. So if you wanted to get some, I know you could sort of buy some different ones, but these are quite cheap, and to be honest, they do the job, so they're absolutely fine. So we'll leave that to dry on there, and I'm going to put some more decoration on the drawers now. So if you look at these drawers, you can see I've got some areas which you can see sort of a darker area, and then you've got lighter bits, but I actually quite like that. I think it sort of adds to the charm. And I also kind of roughly went over these areas as well, because I think that again looks quite cute, and it was sort of the look that I was going for. Right, so these are all on. I've got some on the top. I've stood it on the table, so it's a bit hard to get to. Now, the drawers are a little bit stiff to get in. So what I'm going to do is to sand these, and I am going to sand them back and do a little bit of a distressed look. I think with the colour tones and the style, I think it will look really nice if it's a little bit distressed. So I've started to do it down here just to show you, and I am using a sandpaper rather than wet distress, because I'm going to sand these like little lumpy bits down, and it will take off a little bit of the paint. So because we haven't sealed it, then you'll get this like chipping look, and that will keep in keep with the look that I'm going for. So I'm going to go around the unit with the sandpaper, just in little areas, just to give it that little kind of aged feel to it. And then after that we can seal it, and once it's sealed, it won't chip, or it won't, you know, it won't come off. But I think that will really add to the look. Bought the unit outside and put it on the decking, and completely given up with the little piece of sandpaper after about 2 seconds. I'm just using this little mouse sander. It's so much easier to do, and as you can see, I've got a really cool chippy look, and I wasn't actually going to distress it, but after seeing this on here, I just think it just goes with the style. So I'm really pleased. You just go over it in sort of certain areas, distress, and chip some bits off. I've gone quite chippy on this, but I think it looks good. Right, all I'm going to do now is get a dry, clean paintbrush, and I'm just going to go over the unit and just get any old excess bits of sawdust, it said crumbs then, off the drawers, and then that will make it a nice clean surface. And we're going to seal it with some wax finish varnish, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. This is the wax finish varnish that I'm going to use. We're going to pour some of this, and it's just like a really thin glue, and all I'm going to do is go over all of the painted areas, and this will seal the paint, and it will also seal in the napkin as well. So as long as you go over the area that you've painted, it will cover absolutely fine. So I'm losing light down here now. Once I've got started on this, it's not taking me that long at all. I've just got to wait for the knobs to come tomorrow from Amazon, and then we can finish this. But once this is done, it's just a case of popping the knobs on. And this varnish goes on so easy. It just smooth as anything. Okie dokie, it's the next day now, and I've just had my Amazon parcel arrive. So the knobs have come in this kind of packet. These actually don't look very big. I'm hoping they've sent me the right size. Stuck down quite well. We'll just have a look and see if they've sent the right ones. They come in these little cool boxes, which are quite good. Ah, yeah. They should be fine. That one looks a little bit scratched on there. I'm going to check them, because if they are a little bit scratched, I'll let them know. Then you just get the screws. So they are dead basic, but they should do the job absolutely fine. I'll just check them and make sure they're okay. All we've got to do now is to pop down to the craft room and do another layer of the wax, and then once that's dry, we can, well, the wax varnish. Then once that's dry, we can put these on. Okie doke. So I just left it like this last night. Just pop that down. Last night I just put one layer on the top of these, and that's all I've got to do now. But it's looking quite nice actually. I'm quite liking how it's turning out. So I've bought the drawers at the house now, so I'm just going to put these knobs on. These are slightly smaller than the ones that you get from B&M, but they're okay. So they look pretty cool, and they're right, you know, they're a nice size for this sort of unit. So I'm just going to put all of these on. There's 6 to put on in total, so it shouldn't take too long. And it's just a case of pushing the screw through and then just tightening them up. There we go, we're all finished. So it looks, I think it looks pretty cool. It's got a nice oldie effect to it, nice few little bits of detail there, chips of paint.